Alright, this video is meant to show you how to use your Maya models and then paint them in Blender. So I'm going to open a new general file. These default things can go away, so I'm just going to select all of this and hit the delete key. I need to import my Maya model, so I'm going to import, and I exported it as an OBJ, so I'm going to go to that. Let's see where I put it. Documents, Maya. There it is, OBJ. Import. Alright, so here you can see all of them with their default textures still attached. So in Blender, I orbit by dragging the mouse wheel. I zoom by rolling the mouse wheel, and then I can pan, shift, and the mouse wheel. Okay, so all that movement is with the mouse wheel. So orbit by holding the mouse wheel and dragging, rolling the mouse wheel, and then shift and drag the mouse wheel to pan. Okay, so now the first thing that we need to do is take each of these objects and get our UVs set up. Okay, so if I want to go to the UV editing workspace, you can see that they are set up here. But right now, these objects are all in the same file, right? So that's not necessarily a problem, but you're going to want them to be separated later when we go into Unity. So what we can do is to separate them out. So back in the layout view, I'm going to switch to edit mode, and I'm going to switch to see-through. Alright, so now I'm going to box select each shape and press P and separate selection. Okay, and I'm going to do that for each object. So P, selection, P, selection. P, selection, P, selection. Alright, and then if I go back into object mode now, here, that's my full wall. That's my half floor. That's my full floor. And just naming these helps you make sure that's my quarter floor. You've got everything figured out. This is my window. And that's my half wall. Right? Okay. Having trouble controlling. Okay, so now I've got each object is its own thing, and that'll make it easier to export. Now we can still paint all these with the same UV, which is better for our game because it's going to make sure our game is more efficient. All right, so here's what I want to do. We want to get UVs for each of these objects, right? So if I select an object and then tab to go into edit mode again, I want to face select the whole thing. That's what the UVs look like right now, right? That is not ideal. That's not what we want. So I'm going to go to the UV menu and do Smart UV Project. The island margin, we're going to turn that up just one click. And then choose OK. Did that get all of the faces? So I'm going to spin around here. No, it did not. So you can see that this face is left off. So we need to make sure we get all those faces. So if I don't get all those faces, I'm going to come back here. That's why we want to turn on X-ray, so that we can make sure to grab all those faces. So I'm going to do it again. Smart UV Project. That's much better. So now everything's the right size, the right orientation. We're all good. Okay, so those UVs are fixed. So tab to come into object mode again. Select the next one. Tab to go into edit mode. Box select. Smart UV project. Beautiful. Tab, select, tab, box, smart UV project, tab, select, tab. These should not be on the same thing. There we go. Okay, nice UVs. Okay. Great. All right. So now we've got our UVs fixed for each object. Here, if I switch into that one, you can see it's saved that layout from where it was before. So next thing we want to do is create a material. And I'm going to have one wall material and one floor material. So 2 different materials for all 6 of these objects. So here, material, you can see it starts out with this initial shading group. So I'm going to add another one, and then we're going to call this wall. And then I'm going to select that one and delete it. And then here, select that one. Get rid of initial shading group, new, and that's going to be floor. Okay, so wall is there, floor is there. You can see I've not yet applied it to these other things. So go ahead and do that. Drop this down. That is a wall piece. That's a wall piece. That's a floor piece. That's a floor piece. Okay, so now you can see they still are all the same color because we haven't given them their hand-painted texture yet. All right, so that's our next step. Over here, we need to create a new image texture. Okay, so let's call this one wall diffuse. Right now it's set to 1K. You can change that to 2K if you want. We don't need alpha on this, so I'm going to turn that off. If you want to start out with a base color, right, so like if this is a log cabin, right, we can start out with a base color of brown and choose OK. All right, so now I have that texture, wall diffuse. Image, there we go, save. So let's figure out where to put wall diffuse. Desktop is probably a pretty good place. Save image. Okay, so wall diffuse is now on the desktop. All right, so that's our base color. I'm going to click on this little dot here. Image texture. Open. And we put it on desktop. There's wall diffuse. Open. And if we want to see that, we can switch to viewport shading. Now all 3 of these objects are using that wall diffuse texture. Okay, let's do that same thing again for the floor. Okay, we're going to make a new image. This is going to be floor diffuse. Let's give it a different base color. Okay, so I'm going to switch to an object that has that. Add an image texture. Open this one. We didn't save it yet, though. Image, save. Cancel right here. Image, save. This is floor diffuse. Open. Desktop. Floor diffuse. Open. All right. So now we have textures, we have UVs, and we're ready to start painting. All right. So our textures paint space has what we need for that. I'm going to select the object. So we're in the texture paint space, object mode, select, texture paint. Here's my UVs. Here's my actual object, right? If you want to solo the object, you can tap slash, and then you'll just see the one you're working on right now. Here's all my painting tools, right? So you can see my color picker. We can add a texture mask. So if we add a texture mask, we have to create it here first, so new. And then say, for example, we want like a Voronoi, and we can get like kind of like a moldy texture, okay? So we can adjust the intensity, the size, all right, so once we've got that, come back here to, where's our texture painting space? Tools, there we go. Texture mask, and then texture 1. Okay, and so now if I use that texture and then paint, you can see now I have that. Command Z as part of my stuff. So if I want to actually use that to paint mold, right, I'm going to come in here with like a dark green color, and then I can paint that across the bottom of my door, right? Other things that we can do, we can, here, let's see, paint over here too, right? You can see they all use the same texture, right? If you want to move this face around, so here if I'm on this UV, if I want to move this face, I can select the face. So if I move this up, let's see, grab in Blender. If I paint the mold down here at the bottom, then this will not have the mold up top, right? You can also overlap things. So if I grab this and put it here, now that wall can just have these two segments here at the same place, and it doesn't matter. And then I can use this space for something else if I want to, right? So you could have your window section here, or your door section, or your plain wall section here. So you can adjust where those are on the UV. All right, hopefully this has been helpful. If you're still struggling, let's sit down and talk through what you need to do. Once you're finished with your hand painting, we want to export these individually. So if I go to Layout and I select this object, I can go to File, Export, OBJ. Remember that FBX is for things that need to be animated. OBJ can be for still objects. So OBJ, and then we can put that in as window, wall. Maybe we put it in documents, export, and then it will go into Unity with its UVs intact, and you would just then apply this same image texture to the object in Unity, and it would all line up and be right. Okay, so that's how you can do that, and hopefully this has been helpful.